All right, at 6 o'clock, we'll start the January 28th meeting of the Economic Development Corporation. Roll call, please.
Place number 1, Tyson Eubanks.
Present.
Place number 2, Marshall Terry. Present. Place number 3, Councilmember Kenneth Michaels.
I'm here.
Place number 4, Councilmember Jeff Navarez.
Here.
Place number 5, Dustin Barona.
Here.
Place number 6, Mark Jerry, President.
Here.
Number 7, Councilmember David Glover.
Present.
President, you have a quorum.
We have nobody signed up for public comment.
No public comment at the moment.
Regular session, item A, reports and announcements. City manager updates.
Also, I just want to make a note, if you can, on C1, that will actually fall underneath my update. There's no discussion or consideration for that. The main update I have is for a 380 agreement. There's been several discussions in reference to a Choice Hotel at the corner of Boland and Bowman Springs, which is at the service road. I did have a discussion with the city council in regards to a 380 agreement. At this point, we're still in negotiations, and I just want to give you an update of where we're at. We did talk about that several months back, and I just want to give a short update that we're still moving forward with the hotel, but we're still in the negotiation side of a 380 agreement. Also, we have our consultants here for the EDC and for a little bit for our Chamber of Commerce. They do have some updates for us. If you don't mind stepping up, and it's your show now.
Oh, push. Thank you. Good evening. We're glad to be here and give a little bit of update. I think you have a report in your packet, but I'll hit the highlights of that. You don't have to read it word for word. We've spent a lot of time the last couple of months working on getting a good understanding of the business community here in Kennedale. And a lot of what that looked like was designing a custom survey to send out to local businesses and stakeholders in the community. We're not done with that, but we have a good start on it. We have 59, as of earlier this week, responses to that survey, which will help us both on the EDC side and the chamber side. We did have a lot of chamber specific questions in there about, what's going well there, what would you like to see, what kind of education would you like to see, how can we come alongside you and really move the needle for your business here in Kennedale. But also on the EDC side, those results will be a big help to us as we, excuse me, it allows us to understand better what industry looks like here in Kennedale, what we have a lot of, what we're missing, what we might be able to bring in, what the community might be hungry for. So we got a good response on that, but we're still looking to expand our base of who's responded to that and really increase that. That'll help us build a great database, some good demographics and hard numbers that will help us know who to chase after on the EDC side. We did meet with a number of local businesses to talk more about the chamber, how it's serving them, how it can serve them better. We're going to continue to do that over the next few weeks. We have also been working on researching and recommending a CRM system that will help us be better organized and more efficient, both in the data that we collect, how we can take action on that data, and how we can communicate better with all of our audiences. On the chamber, we also did get the spring golf tournament on the schedule for this year, so that will be the first big step in helping the chamber become more financially stable. So that's the last couple of months. What we're focusing on now is actually on Thursday, we are going to ICSC. It's one of the big annual conferences for real estate and site selectors here. This is the Red River Conference, so it's focused on Texas and Oklahoma. There will be dozens, if not more than 100 retailers there ready to talk about where they're looking to expand and franchise. And so we will be there on Thursday all day, meeting with as many as we can and promoting the city and trying to figure out who is likely to come here, and then work with y'all to narrow down who you want to come here, who's the best fit for this. On that front, we also met with Craig Hughes this week and learned more about what's coming up next for Town Center. He's got some exciting stuff going on and wants us to help him and help Kennedale fill his new spots with the perfect restaurants and nightlife. And so that'll be part of our focus at ICSC and in the coming months to help bring in the right kind of retail. And we've also been talking, we hope to continue or start working, helping with the 380 agreements on the hotel and how we can help move that forward, continue to move that forward. I think that wraps up what we've done so far in our first 7 weeks. Any questions? Yeah.
As far as the 59 companies that you've heard from, do you have any examples of who may have reached out that y'all have talked to so far?
Well, we have not had time to analyze the data yet, but as far, you mean who has responded?
Yeah. I know that puts you on the
I know,
spot.
I know everybody, what comes to mind first are the businesses in Town Center because those were a lot that we met with. But I can send you a list.
Okay.
If that'd be helpful. And really, like I said, we want to continue to expand who's taken that because it's not just for the chamber, it's for the EDC. It will help us know better what the community has and what its strong points are and what it needs. But we could use your help. If there's somebody that needs to be on that list, that needs to have given us that information but hasn't, we would love to know. Even if you want to share that for us or make a call and say, would you please fill this out? We'd love that help because you guys have the connections that we don't have yet.
Okay. As far as the golf tournament, where are y'all planning on marketing that? Do y'all have an idea? Are you going to do just city websites, or are you going to reach out further?
Everywhere we can. So far, we know that so what we have is a date and a place. It's going to be at the same course it was at last year, and the date's going to be April 14th. We don't have the sponsorship packet done yet, so we're not quite ready to promote. We have a save the date piece. Really anywhere we can promote it, we'd like to. We have not gotten to that point yet, and we hope to in the next couple of weeks to redo the sponsorship packet so that people can register and we can start calling about sponsorships and having a complete marketing plan because we don't know yet we're not familiar yet with who came last year. We have the list of teams, but we don't know them yet. So that will help decide who we're making phone calls to and how else we're marketing. Any suggestions that you guys have about what has worked well in the past outside of emails and social media and making phone calls, we're open to.
Right. I just didn't know how much traffic we get on the city websites. A lot of it's social media these days, so we can get out. This comes same thing with voting.
Yes.
A lot of people don't look at this city websites and they see other places. So.
And we do know from experience, well, on the survey, we emailed it out and got 8 responses, and then it was posted to the chamber social media and we got the other 50. And so we know there's some traction on social media, but we also know from experience that phone calls and door knocking goes a lot further than emails and social. And so that will be on the list too.
As far as the old Dollar General, have you heard any interest in that? Is that one of the spots that I guess we have to bring somebody in?
We'll talk about here soon.
Okay, I just jumping the gun a little bit, but it's on my list.
Oh, good question. Yeah. Anything else?
On your survey, does your survey tell you what type of industries and what we need to do as a city to attract them, what they need from the city?
It does ask what industry. It doesn't have a specific question about that. We can add it. It can be fluid. There are more general questions about what challenges and issues both your industry and your specific company are facing. And that's both in a drop-down where you can check multiple suggestions that we gave, but also in other comment box. And some people did fill that out. So we do have a general question about what issues are you facing. And we can add one specific to how it is to work with the city or how the city can help. It's a great idea.
When y'all come back from the meeting on Thursday, will y'all have like a list to present to the board of the interest that y'all get from there?
Yes, so we will have a list of who we talked to and then also who we think might be a good fit to run after and market to. Some of those people we will have met with and some we won't have. We don't get all the appointments that we ask for ever, but we still go around and talk to people as they sit at their tables and collect information. And so we'll go through that afterwards and have a good list, a target list. And follow up from those on our end will be swift, but on their end is usually slow. So that's probably all we'll have at the next meeting, but that's part of what will go into the CRM that we're working on getting together, is a list of targets and funnels on how well we're keeping up with them so that we're the squeaky wheel. And so we'll make sure to keep you up to date at every meeting on where we are with everybody. Anything else?
I would like the CRM that you're putting together. When do you anticipate that'll be completed? And then also, are you going to share all of that with us? Maybe prior to the meeting, would we be able to read through those, see who you're talking to, things like that?
We can certainly prepare whatever kind of reports y'all want.
Yeah,
Anything specific that you're looking
the
for?
hard thing is I don't know what to ask for. I don't know what's there yet. Right?
Yes,
So I
well,
don't know. I don't know what report that would be. So it's kind of tough.
My guess is, we don't have, because we haven't created it yet, but my guess is that the most interesting data for you would be who we're talking to and where we are in that process, whether they've expressed interest or not, and what kind of interest, and information about the kind of expansion that they're doing. That would be my guess, but we can certainly bring you more information once it's in place and let you decide what information you want.
I think as a follow-up to Mr. Eubank's comment, if they're not interested in coming, why are they not interested in coming? Are we missing something?
Yes, that is also our question. It is our experience that we can start that relationship with a "we're not interested," and as long as we can find out that answer for why not, a couple years down the road, sometimes that really changes. And so that's really our only question when they say no is, why not, or how can we change that?
Okay. And then for the survey responses you have gotten, would it be possible to see the company names of the respondents, but not the individuals, but at least the company names, just in case with only 50 some odd responses, one company can kind of skew the results if they got 10 of their employees?
Yes, and so one of the questions that we asked in the survey was how many employees that you have, and we have not looked at it granularly enough to see if there have been multiple respondents from single company, but we will, and make sure that as we look at the data that we're viewing it in a correct way. Good point.
Thank you.
And I didn't mention this, excuse me, except for to say that we haven't analyzed the data yet, but we will. So we'll have that for you soon, at the next meeting, I would imagine.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2, reports, financial reports.
Good evening. Hope you guys got all the questions out of your system just now. Just quick summary on the financial report. Our sales tax revenues, similar to what I presented to council last week, we're ahead of where we were last year on sales tax collections, just slightly. I mean, not enough to get too happy, but we're still ahead of the game a little bit on that. Considering that we're 25% through the year, our rental fee collection is 29.7% of the budget, so we're ahead of pace. That's timing. We're going to collect what we budgeted for on that. Our operations, we're at 15.2% to budget on expenditures, and our town center, we're at 12.2% year to date. So our spending is definitely not keeping pace, which in this case is a good sense. We want to be under 25% on that. Our fund balance year to date is $2.1 million, so about 645 days of budgeted expenditures. Does anyone have a specific question you'd like me to address?
What, for the fund balance we have in the bank, what's our rate of return on that, given the current higher interest rates?
So that fund balance, if you remember the investment report given last week, it's all in the same pot. So we don't split EDC money, for example, the cash. The EDC cash is all part of that investment strategy. So we don't say, for example, that all the EDC money is only in a pooled fund. So the EDC money is also part of T-bills, it's part of the government bonds, it's part of everything. So if you think about it as buying a share, for every dollar every fund has, they buy a share of our investment strategy as the city. And the return is just based on that. So that's a long way of me saying no.
Understood. Thank you, Director Orton.
Any more questions?
Yes, John, what is our cash value?
Well, currently it's the 2.1 million, but if we look at our budget, about 1.7, 1.6 by the end of the year, assuming we're going to spend at what we've budgeted for.
So it's actual cash.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the fund balance I present is cash in bank. But we just haven't spent as much as we were projecting. And to get into a little bit of the detail with the debt service, those only hit twice. There's some pretty significant debt service expenses. We do have a monthly loan, but there are bonds that the EDC pays into. So we'll probably catch up or get closer to catching up after we make those February payments. So that's an example why we look ahead of the game a little bit now, but in reality, we're not as far ahead as we want to think because we do have a couple really large payments coming out soon.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
How's the new ERP treating you?
I'm sorry?
How's the new ERP?
I'm enjoying it so far. We're probably still, I think by the end of the fiscal year, we'll finally really be where we want to be on that.
Cycle through it. Okay.
Yeah, we've already made a few changes to that Tyler ERP Pro 10. We've made a few changes even in the few months we've had it, just as we're looking at our systems and what processes we can do with the city, with the staff we have, and how to flow through. So it's coming along well. Like producing these reports is really, really fast. Same with the report to council, that's really fast. But the AP process, we're still working through a few things on that. But by the end of this fiscal year, it should be in a very, very good place.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Item B, consent agenda for Economic Development Corporation minutes. Does anybody have any discussion, or we're open for motions?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
A second.
All in favor? All opposed? Nobody? Thank you. Item C, items for individual consideration discussion. One has already been taken care of. So going to item 2, discuss an update regarding the development of the property located at 600 West Kennedale Parkway.
Yes, update for that. Obviously, the city council has approved for the sale of the property to Adlai Pennington to his development company. With that, one of the things that was asked is to have a regular update dealing with the property and where we're at with that. One of the things Adlai or Mr. Pennington is wanting bring to that property is a car wash. One of the things was asked of me was to have a limitation of how long this process will take. One of the things, Mr. Pennington, I met with him yesterday, he is asking for some more time. This February 18th or February 19th, he is attending a car wash conference here in Fort Worth, and he's requested that it give him a little bit more time to present something to one of the car wash franchise. So we're looking for that. I was wanting to present something for the February, March timeline to have a 380 agreement approved and presented to the council by the March. That looks like it may be delayed a little bit just due to the him wanting to look into the franchise itself to see which one fits his criteria of that land itself. So there's a little update for the 380 agreement and the car wash itself. That's it.
Any questions?
Has there been any further development as far as outside of the car wash down there, where he was talking about there would be more?
There is a little bit more space for him to develop on. Right now, he's got the dimensions of the land itself. That's the biggest question he has. That's one of the reasons why he will be meeting with one of the franchise for the car wash. He also has one of his consultants that's helping to see what type of development he can put on there for either office space. He does have a coffee franchise that's wanting to come in on that corner. So he has a lot of movement still going on, but a lot of it depends on the actual size of the buildings. So with the setbacks, things of that nature, the right-of-ways that are associated with it, it is a little tricky, and that's why he's wanting to meet with these consultants first to make sure what those dimensions he can meet. That's the reason why it's been delayed a little bit. He just now got the survey for it, so it is kind of limited.
Mr. City Manager, one clarifying question. Did we vote to sell the land or only for you to begin negotiations to sell the land?
For the 380. So the actual sale of the property will not be complete until a 380 agreement is accepted.
So we have not settled on a price on that land, which I know.
The price has been set for the 25,000 based off a 380 agreement.
Okay. But another question, this may be more council related, is we didn't get clarification from I think anybody. We probably need to talk to the comptroller's office on whether he will pay sales taxes on the car washes themselves.
There's no sales tax associated with the automatic or automated car washes.
Right. If there's no employees there, they don't pay sales tax.
There won't be sales tax on the washes themselves, but if he sells air fresheners, towels, any type of those retail items, there'll be sales tax on those. But
Well, that'll just fund the city forever, won't it?
that's based on reading the comptroller's guidance, and also we do have a car wash in town that operates on a similar business model.
That's a little frustrating to hear. You know, got excitement about the land and so on, and no sales tax is tough.
Well, that's the second side of having other retail associated with it. It's not necessarily a catch-all for all of it. The car wash itself is not, there's no sales tax associated with it. That will most likely be moved to either to the middle of the property or to the far east of that property. That's where the coffee shop is looking. They're actually wanting that hard corner of Canadell Parkway and Bowman Springs.
But we're not sure because he has to see the actual floor plan for the car wash to even see if the coffee shop could fit, correct?
Well, it's just the opposite. It's just more of a movement of where the car wash is going to be. The ideal is to put it on the eastern side of that property and for the hard corner Canadell Parkway to have a retail establishment.
Are these going to happen in tandem, or is this a situation where the car wash comes first and then we hope for the coffee shop?
It kind of depends, honestly. He's ready to move on a franchise for the car wash. Ultimately, that was the sale for that property. The idea of how long it is, it's a little over 3 acres, but it's just real narrow. We do believe that we can put some type of retail establishment. We just don't know what the depth is. Some of them may want say for instance, 900 square feet, someone may want 1,500 square feet. So that's the intent of it. For a coffee shop, for say, they're also wanting a drive-through. So in reference to have a drive-through, obviously you have to have the right-of-way to be able to do that. So that's the question that's becoming for retail for that corner. The other side of it on Kennedale Parkway, there's no entry. The entry will be off of Bowman Springs, so it's kind of all one piece.
So is he the coffee shop? Is this gentleman the developer of the coffee shop, or this is somebody you source separately?
Yeah, it's someone separately. Mr. Pennington is the developer of the property itself, so basically he will build to suit,
Assuming he owns the property.
assuming that a 380 agreement
Right.
is approved by council.
Yeah, just think through this. In my head, I'm just thinking through that, let's say the right-of-way doesn't work for the coffee shop. We sold the property for 25,000, so obviously we benefited from that.
Well,
But beyond that, what is the monetary value of that car wash being there? Other than, and because the other side of that is, there's gonna be a lot of traffic at that intersection. If we put a car wash there, it's already a busy intersection, you know that. So I just worry we're not getting compensated for the headache that it could cause at that intersection, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that's right, just an opinion. And I don't think there's a perfect answer, it's just, yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure how to answer your question. Any development is going to cause congestion, and ultimately, that's what we want. If you want to bring retail here, obviously that brings customers. It's going to bring more people to it. So it's going to cause congestion at that intersection, which is built for that. So ultimately, in that traffic area, there's roughly about 15,000 cars a day that goes down it. The road is built for over 30,000 cars a day. So to indicate to bring some type of retail establishment there, that road can handle that. Bowman Springs was actually built for that traffic as well. I don't think it's at 30,000, but I'm pretty confident to say it can hold 15 to 20,000 cars. It is a four-way with a turn lane. So the capability of that intersection being able to hold that traffic is there. The question is what can we put there that may be able to hold that traffic? A coffee shop that's only 900 square feet with no drive-through, in my opinion, is not a very good choice. So if a coffee shop can't make it, it's going to be kind of hard to go and put a Wendy's there or other drive-through capabilities. Then I think we're looking at, can we put in office space? Can we put some other factor to bring more people into that area?
I guess whenever you get that report back, I'd be curious what is left after the car wash to see what is viable.
Yeah.
So are we set on a coffee shop, or is he set on a coffee shop because Thrive that just opened in our town center that we gave a grant fund to also, and I realize I don't have a drive-through, so maybe the demographic is slightly different from a timing standpoint, but two coffee shops that close together might just cannibalize each other. So I'm just, I would want to, we need to be sensitive probably to that. And there's probably no great answer either on that one, but.
Yeah, I understand your value in that. I don't think at this point we would have a choice. If Mr. Pennington comes in and develops it and he has a customer that wants to come in and lease that, I don't think we'll have value into that. If so, we'll need to do a different type of 380 agreement. Right now, the 380 agreement will be based off the property itself. So if the property is coming in valued at $111,000, we sell it for 25, that's the 380 agreement. It's not based off the business that's coming in, it's based off the development itself. So a property that's valued at 111,000, so roughly you're looking about a $90,000 difference. And a tax incentive, or not a tax incentive, but it's an incentive for him to come and develop that property. So that's the bonus to it. It's not the concept of other tax incentive. That is the incentive, is to get that property at a cheaper value to bring in development. So if he comes in and brings in a $1.5 million car wash, we're going to get a property tax, not a sales tax, just the property value itself. We will get that in return. That's something that we do not have currently. If he comes in and develops a office space, we still, if there's some type of retail that comes out of that, we still will get the sales tax and property value out of that. If it's just office space, obviously that's another story, but you still get a property value of it. That's the increase of from selling to a 25,000 versus 111,000. That's the value out of it. Now, it could still take 5 to 7, maybe even 10 years to get that return, but it's also bringing more establishments to Kennedale, to that corridor for the other the other 2 corners that are also for sale. That's the value it brings.
So with that sale, we don't get any further say of what he develops on that land, or are we going to be able to have it brought back to the board and try to recoup some of the sales tax that we aren't getting out of the car wash? So with the next thing that comes in there, if it fits, we at least want to see it so that we know that it's going to generate money for the city. Or we're just out of it. Once we sell it, it's done. We're just at his mercy.
No, we're not at its mercy. That the intent of the 380 agreement is to bring business here, which currently we do not have. So we're incentivizing someone to bring their business here, particularly in this case to a property that is very, very limited in space and honestly just value as a whole. There's very limited number of businesses that can go there. That's the reason why we're giving the incentive of a $90,000 price break. That's it. If we want to go beyond that and go into more in depth of a 380 agreement where we can control what comes in, that's a totally different ballgame. We can do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's a different type of 380.
But we're not past that yet. We still can
No,
negotiate that.
currently what is is being offered is a 380 agreement based off the 90,000 that's being incentivized. That's the agreement, is to bring some development. At this point, it's a car wash. If he decides to come in and say, hey, we only have room for a office space, then we can make that decision. We can control that. If he says, hey, we have enough space to come in and put a hard corner where someone can have a drive-through, we can approve that. So what he actually builds, yes, we have control over in that manner, but to indicate what is approved to go into that is a different concept.
I get you. Okay. Thank you.
With that, this would not necessarily be for the EDC board, but it'd be more for the council, is the zoning of the property itself. The zoning is where some of that control can come in and play a role, particularly with this property. Not necessarily for any of our other properties. This one's a little bit different in the zoning concept. That part we haven't got to. Urban Village. It can be, yeah. It depends on a direction. And we just haven't reached that yet. He's still exploring, like I said, particularly for the car wash. He's just doing his homework to make sure, one, does he want to continue with a 380 agreement with this property? It may not be beneficial. This is probably the 5th or 6th development we've had that's tried to come in and develop on that property, and it has not worked as of yet. So there's still challenges with it. We just haven't got that far. As of right now, the car wash does seem to have a benefit to it, or possibility of fitting that property. But he was wanting to talk to that franchise first.
Okay. Item 3, discuss the finalized grant application process and forms, or grant application forms that we worked so long on.
Your packet has, excuse me, has 3 separate items. One of them, the first one, the qualifications, that is the document that you approved. It was just reformatted, put on EDC letterhead. And on the last page, there's a signature block for grant applicants to acknowledge that they have read and understand the qualifications. The second piece was just a blank copy of the grant application itself. This is set up as a fillable PDF where, for example, on the business structure, people can only pick one. Then when you get down on page 2, that description, it gives people, an applicant, that entire space to type. And then page 3, name the person who's authorized to act on behalf, and then another signature block, and then we have instructions on how to submit the application. There's also a note on here. A completed application includes a signed copy of the qualifications. That's the first section. I'm beating that one pretty hard, mainly because there were some changes as far as there being 3 different grant programs. There are different thresholds for reimbursement, and we also added some qualifications as far as for-profit business and that type. So I want to make sure by the time an application ends up in the finance department that someone has truly read through the qualifications and ensures they qualify, but instead of us just getting loads of applications and then administratively denying them right off. Say, hey, you read this, didn't work. The very last thing, I did an example packet made up a business name of Mandalorian Metals. They're an LLC. They are located at the drainage ditch north of us. That is EDC property currently. They are a member of the Chamber of Commerce. And when you look at this next spot with the facade improvements and then the capital equipment, if you go to page 2, you see the short description. So $20,000 for the facade improvement, that's only a 50% match, so they're applying for $10,000. The new milling machine is $35,000. That is a 100% match, but that would put them over the $25,000, so they're applying for a $15,000 reimbursement there. Then we have just the basic questions: expanding a facility, do you own the facility? Do you have the title? Will it create new jobs? So moving to page 3, you see Boba Fett is the managing member of the LLC. He has his phone number and his email on there, and he has signed this. The next section is me just beating the dead horse involving the qualifications being signed. Then to keep along with those qualifications, I didn't want to take the time to fill a funny name out on this, but he does have his certificate of formation for the LLC. The sales tax permit was included, and he does have the upgrade. We have the proposal for his upgraded facade. You see he's going for a very basic look there. And then the milling machine behind it. So this is what I would consider a completed application that I would be comfortable delivering to this board for their decision.
Director Orton, thank you for this. Was there any material changes to the verbiage from what we previously reviewed and approved? You're just changing the formatting?
A bit of, on the application itself, it was just formatting change, and then I did go through what was required of the applicant and make sure that some of those items were on here as far as the business structure, identifying it, but materially it's the same.
Okay. Thank you for this. Is there anything else we need to do on this? Or just review alone?
If you guys,
I mean, as
Just
a
to
board, do we need
approve.
to approve it?
Yeah, everything else has been approved. More than anything, we just wanted to show you guys that the application that we had prior to and what it is now, we're able to do it electronically. They can submit it electronically or bring it in person. We would like to have an inked signature, but more than anything is the application side, not the qualification side. All it was.
And Director Horton, are we using the Tyler ERP for the electronic submission or something else?
currently, the option is email because we do want someone to physically sign it. So if they do an electronic submission at this point, it will be signing and scanning it to me. Or if they have a stamp like I do for PDFs, they could just email me in that sense. We're not quite to the point where we want to put a fillable document on our website yet because somebody would not be able to sign that.
But it's a fillable PDF at least.
It's a fillable PDF that somebody could download, fill out, do an electronic signature on that, and then email it to me. Or we do have the option to bring it by
Okay.
or mail. Those are the three options right
That's
now.
perfect. Thank you.
John, when's the date when we're gonna utilize this particular one? When is the open enrollment for it again, I guess, question?
Well, if we're going by the qualifications, we've already blown through the October, November piece. So we're looking at applications, January. So looking March 1st through April 30th, we'll have the next window with an anticipation of funding to be awarded during the June meeting.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just had a question. Did we put anything in here to vet these businesses are using this money or use this money, utilized what we gave them? Did we put that in there so that we could follow up with them?
It does say that, and in addition, it's, I think it also reads 12 months or less. Yeah.
If you start on page 3 of the qualifications, section 4 are guidelines. And the deeper you get into the guidelines, like for example, section L, the applicant must complete the improved project within 12 months of receiving written approval from the EDC. And then we do have some clawback instructions in here also.
Who would be following up with that, though? Like, who would be physically going and seeing, hey, they did this? Because we have a grant that we gave out recently, and I haven't seen anything done to it, so.
Well, to be clear, what was granted before will not, these don't apply. So going forward, that people would have to apply for a construction permit, for example. I mean, there's permitting that would be involved in this. Physically who, I don't feel I'm qualified, so that might be a task for our community development department to look at. And obviously I can see if there's a machine in place, but as far as, I've never been trained on identifying certain structures.
That's the best we have at this point for that. Other than the concept of receipts that they had to bring back on some of the grants itself, it's a matching grant. So obviously we'll have a role with that. So on the 100%, it's the same thing. I think one thing that we did, if I'm not mistaken, we took out of having the grant where they upfront the cost, then they're reimbursed. I think we still have that concept.
The project has to start after it was awarded. So everything is cost reimbursed, but if somebody starts something now and then applies during our next window, that wouldn't be eligible. The project has to start during the application process itself.
But I think what you're saying is they don't come to us and ask for half the money or all the money and then go buy the equipment. They still have to buy the equipment and then they get everything's reimbursed.
That's correct.
But they would have to come to us and ask for the money, get approved, then go buy it. But yeah, we don't give them money up front. It's a cost reimbursed agreement on all 3 programs.
Correct. And as far as if they did it, I mean, it's probably a little bit of the honor system, a little bit of trust involved there. And certainly someone in the city can go out and look to see if a building has been upgraded or not.
Yeah, and I'm just referencing one that we did prior to setting this in place. So I'm just trying to make sure that we protect our money.
It is.
The only situation I can think, for example, a facade improvement, the finance department would receive an invoice for bricks, for example. we might receive an invoice for labor, but as far as someone from the finance department going out and determining whether that work was done, that would really have to come through community development.
One thing you got to look at too, prior to this, we didn't have any policies. So we had no way of denying or, I mean, it was just, people would just come in and apply for a grant. So now, you know, we have some we can go by, so.
Any more questions, discussions?
It's an action item, so we can get actual approval.
You want to vote on the grant application?
The application itself,
Application.
yes, that's correct.
We've already done that.
I thought we did too.
We've done the application, we've done the process, but we haven't done the application.
Okay.
The reason why, because we added to it. The format of it changed, so therefore, for the review of it, I would rather have an action item on it. It hadn't changed in that concept, but the formatting, the concept of what information you put on there for the applicant itself is what's being added to it. That's the reason why I'm looking for an action item.
Okay. We'll get to that next month then. We'll do it next month, right?
We can do it now if the chair calls for action, I guess, because it's only been discussion so far.
Any more discussions? All right. The call for an action, a motion on our,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to grant, to finalize the current grant application process that we just reviewed.
I'll second.
all in favor? Unanimous? Discuss update regarding the building remodel located at 200 and West Hitterdale Parkway, Suite 111, the current location of the Dollar General.
Yes, as you can see, the new Dollar General market it's in motion. We're anticipating the completion date to be end of March, first part of April, for a actual ribbon cutting to open. With that, there will be a transition in March from the old Dollar General moving into the new one. With that building obviously will be unoccupied, and at one point, that portion of Dollar General will need to be remodeled. The remodel estimate that I'm getting is anywhere from 600 to 700,000 to do so. Obviously, we have an agreement with Craig Hughes, developer, with that building. In 2030, Craig Hughes will have the opportunity to purchase that building for $1. So we have several things in our favor and not so much in our favor. So the question I have is, one, it needs to be remodeled. We do have a tenant that's willing to move into there, which is the YMCA. So the YMCA does want to move in, establish their new office for Kennedale only to be in that building, to provide their services to the youth and to all ages. I do want to move that direction. I think there's other plans as we move forward in the near future to be able to help YMCA in that concept. But as of right now, for the next 5 years, we do not have a space to put YMCA. That will be it. One of the things that I would like to do is get a hard number for a remodel and ask Craig Hughes to either, one, finance that, or at least come in and have a 50-50 match for that remodel. Depending on the cost itself, I'm looking at it, if that's the capability, we're able to move forward with that concept. Whoever is the tenant will be able to withstand the other part of our investment. So we should be able to get our return and our investment back prior to selling it to Craig Hughes or his development. Or I think we also may have an opportunity just to purchase the vehicle or purchase the building itself, which is still an option, even though we have a 380 agreement with Craig Hughes.
And the YMCA will pay a discounted rent or a fair market rent?
I don't have an answer at that for now.
It just, to me, it depends on how long, and we get a recovery of money, yes, but it takes longer on a discounted rate.
It is. There's several things to factor with the YMCA for a lot of different reasons. One, YMCA, one of their trademarks is partnering with city governments or any governments, government entities. We're no different from that. Just as today, where they're located today is discounted. That's a common practice for YMCA, and it depends on what they're in favor for of partnering with the city. Sometimes we can have YMCA come in and offer specials to our citizens or discounted rates for the citizens to offset some of the cost savings that may come in with that. There's been partnerships where there's been tax liens where the city funds half, YMCA funds half. There's so many different varieties of agreements that with YMCA, but it's not an uncommon factor for cities to partner with YMCA to bring those activities to us, which we're in need of.
I figured we've probably covered a bit of the rent from either the EDC paying it or just not collect, or just giving them a discounted rate.
Yeah, so it's very common. A lot of them have more of a bond. The city go out for a bond, and they have some agreement with YMCA to pay that back. There's probably every city government has it with YMCA.
So does
Regarding
does that 600,000 estimate, 700,000, is that fixing everything that was a problem with that building, or fixing it to YMCA's requirements?
It will be built to the city's standard. So we'll go in, we'll build new restrooms. The facility will pretty much be a total remodel. It is not in a standard that's acceptable in my opinion. And I don't think it should be anybody's standard for that matter. But it only has one restroom, there's no kitchen, there's so many things it needs. And I think that's the reason why we're coming in at roughly a $700,000 investment.
But the city standard wouldn't include locker rooms or something else like the YMCA will typically have. Regarding remodeling, I feel like us paying the full remodel bill and then selling it to Hughes for $1 is kind of a non-starter for me anyway. I think we would need to see some kind of a mutual investment
I agree.
on that remodel.
And I believe Craig Hughes is in agreement with that as well. I've had a very simple conversation with him, and he is in agreement for that.
The funds that were mentioned as being remaining by the end of the year, is that a potential source to tap into to pay for some of these remodels?
I think so. Yeah. I really can't expand a whole lot, but there's a lot of action with that building itself, the entire building, not just the Dollar General. City Electric is wanting or needing a bigger facility. So we're actually out looking for a building for them. With that, that would be breaking the lease. So there's options that we can have that'll help remodel the Dollar General side. And honestly, even YMCA will take the whole building. They have enough activities to use it. So there's a lot of moving factors with it. And we haven't been able to get too far with it as of yet. Our biggest problem is finding a warehouse or a storefront for City Electric. We have a couple of places, and they're in negotiations with that, but it just hadn't came about yet.
So you mentioned obviously the city partnering with YMCA all over, pretty common. Knowing that they would or could take the entire building, seems like an opportunity for the city to partner with them if we happen to own the building. It would be a great partnership of the city and the YMCA together with no other third parties involved. Might take time to accomplish that. I understand there's other leases, et cetera, et cetera. What's the viability of us acquiring that building? Is that viable? Have there been those conversations? And I would be willing to bet the YMCA would maybe split some of that cost with us too, to make sure that it's specific for them, knowing what we're trying to accomplish over the next 5 to 10 years by getting that building for them.
That's correct.
Just thinking through this, looking forward, 20 years from now, that building would still be there. Obviously, it needs repairs, but it would still be there with the YMCA still there 10, 15, 20 years from now. The YMCA's just don't move unless they have to. It'd be a great asset for the city, in my opinion.
I totally agree.
Also, what is the likelihood of incorporating like a common desk theme with the YMCA? We're always talking about needing office space. CP2, you guys are familiar with common desks. I mean, is there a possibility there that we could look into something like that, partnering with YMCA?
Yeah, our options are wide open. Eric Tucker, the president of the Arlington Mansfield Area YMCA, is very open. He's willing to work. He wants to be a part of our community. He wants to partner with the city, and that's a true bonus for Kennedale. He's open. And, this is just the beginning of a relationship, a partnership with YMCA. I'd love to come in and indicate there's bigger plans. And in my mind, there's a lot bigger plans. I truly looking to 2030. That's what I look at. We have a lot more options that are on the table that will take us beyond 2030. And ultimately, at one point, I will bring all that to you guys in a package to get us there. But unfortunately, where we're at currently, we need that building remodeled. And that partnership is ultimately going to be with Craig Hughes. And how do we move forward with Craig Hughes to make that happen becomes the bigger question mark.
One of the things that the YMCA has recently done is make a committee, like a board, basically, and they'll be meeting next week, I believe it is. So you can always reach out to one of us, basically, to relay some of your thoughts, and we can share that with the board and the YMCA.
I'm open for any ideas of, and honestly, it's hard for me to come out and just share everything because it's all,
It's just really hard to split
yeah.
600,000 with him because that's going to, in all intents and purposes, he's going to want that building after it gets remodeled. And in addition, it's going to cost us more if we do want it after the construction. It's a really tough spot to be in.
It is, absolutely.
In the meantime, we're still responsible for that building, and it's long overdue. It's one of the oldest buildings in the area, I believe. And so if we can make it, even better, even if YMCA, just whatever reason, just pulls out of Kennedale, it'll be prepared for something else and something better. We're still responsible about it for the next 5 years.
Well,
At least.
yeah, is your thought to split, is that kind of what everyone's just, you don't feel like you need to respond, but is everybody just basically thinking that's what we should do, the 50-50 split? Is that kind of?
I think at minimum, but I think as negotiations continue, it needs to be in our favor. There's no other way. We have 5 years left in that investment. Going and spending $350,000 for the next 5 years, there could be value. But a partnership with YMCA, there's other ways that we can come up with that $350,000. Just indicate that it is YMCA. They're agreeing to make that investment. Maybe we go in and we partner with YMCA. Just say it's $350 or $350,000, we split it with YMCA for our part, or what other options that we may have. I just think, I wanted to bring it to you, put it on your radar, start thinking about it. It's coming. And we need to make a decision fairly quickly. Obviously not tonight, but it's more than anything, get feedback of where we're at, what we want to do and how we move forward, and your ideas. Not only for tonight, but as the days and the weeks come, share your ideas with me. Email them, call me, whatever the case is, because you could trigger something that Craig hasn't seen or not sharing with us, that I'm not seeing, and at one point for our consultants and YMCA itself. But I think we have a great opportunity to make something great, and we will. It's where do we get to the bottom line, and we'll get there. Just share your ideas.
I think the YMCA would be a great kind of anchor tenant, if they move into that space. The amount of foot traffic that they bring in that's turning over every hour is probably more than Dollar General's today. So I think it's a good partnership to have. I think we just have to find the numbers that everyone can live with. And I guess the 2030 question is really going to be maybe the deciding factor, I want to say, with regards to the property, that particular property. Because if, being transparent, if we somehow keep that building EDC owned and we have that partnership with YMCA, then I would like to see us invest in that relationship for them and the city itself, just the residents of Kendall, to be able to use that facility. If it goes the other way, then I think we have to find, again, what can we all live with?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, partnering with YMCA, even today, the city itself has its challenges. The library is expanding. So our community room that we've had for decades is going away. So there's things that it's affecting the city. As the city continues to grow, the city is going to have to grow with it. That's just the bottom line of it. YMCA is a great partner to provide those city services that we do every day for activities the library does, readings or learning how to sew or whatever the case is. YMCA does some of those same activities, and it's a great partnership. Obviously, that's outside the sports concept. We have funding to remodel our baseball fields, to create soccer and football as well. So there's other factors that are surrounding it, just like Mr. Glover indicated. The growth, the economic growth that we're talking about in the next year, 2 years, is beyond what we've ever seen in this town center. And it's just based off of YMCA by itself. They just totally Arlington has a new facility for YMCA, and they're already out of room of activities, everything they provide. They're looking for space in Kennedale to build and be a partner with us. And this is step one. That's all.
Any more discussions? Nope. We have no executive session, so we were ready to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Oh.
All in favor to go home?
We both got you.
Nobody argues.